Lisa Yuka, I take advantage of this theme that you have brought up. You also mentioned me to give the word to Giuliano Noci that is on the big topic of energies, claim of the ecological transition of a new productive paradigm, and obviously staying in the market with products different from electric cars, but not only. Who is running more and better? It's as if China was digging, Professor. Because then when we talk about economy, much of the challenge is there.
But as for the topic of electric cars, let's say the news of these days, of these hours, that BYD, that has the Chinese company founded by a university professor in 1990, in which Warren Buffett also invested. It has surpassed Tesla in number of electric cars sold. It sold 530,000 cars compared to Tesla's 480,000.
Here it is.
From this point, the Chinese have become the world's top car exporters. The doctor is very right when she points out that China now officially has a real estate bubble, and the surplus of investments in infrastructure to alternative sectors, which is tied to the clean technologies that are Florida. The problem for China is very serious, is that if real estate makes up 25% of the Chinese GDP, clean technologies, and they make up 3 to 4%. So I am not a sufficient engine to support Xi Jinping's goals at the moment. Let's say that here in reality, China is in a very complex condition. We at the Polytechnic of Milan have dozens of professors in China because we have a university there. And what they report to me is that essentially any individual, he complains about the economic situation in China. China, even if it reaches 5% growth, unfortunately, nothing has grown, which does not generate well-being because it is a growth concentrated in specific sectors. Investments in infrastructure that have significantly reduced their productivity and impact on productivity. So let's say a China that is struggling internally, a China that will need the outlet of exports. I'm already telling you that they will arrive at Davos. Of the Chinese, in the sense that there are dozens of people who will come to Davos only in my contacts. The president and the prime minister will arrive there, and they will arrive to give a message of openness, but above all to seek the unlocking market. Well, this very outward projection from China will be a problem. Why such a big China looking for an external projection? It's not the China of 20 years ago, so it is a source of very significant imbalances. And it's a source of imbalance that will manifest itself, as my colleagues have already said, in a year that I would call electoral for the world, as it was said. So I'd say the situation is extremely complex, and it's complex because China, which is the second largest economy in the world, is in deep crisis. It is difficult because of the United States. In addition to going to the polls, they are essentially very close to a value civil wars. And this is a topic we cannot ignore.
Among other things, going towards exactly a possible re-election of Trump after all that has happened already tells much about the state. Let's say
I hate the sword under the mask that Kibi said. Everyone tastes it in the sense that if you were deceived already with that threatening missile. Yes, I have to say that I believe 2024 will be the year that will shape the coming decades. Meaning that if by chance it goes on a trap, And what if by any chance the European elections will lead to a weakening of everyday life, which currently supports, probably will bury future of Europe. I expect problem for Europe in terms of segregating forces deriving from a Trump who it will certainly favor the European Union. It will manifest a desire to break with NATO and China, a Russian Federation, that menacingly they will arrive in Europe and try to break up. I remind those who listen to us, but I remind myself first, that alongside what we've said, we have a Germany in serious crisis. We have a political crisis unprecedented in the last 15 years. A chancellor who is substantially heavily criticized at home, and very heavy decisions need to be made. So I really believe that this 2024 shapes the upcoming years, maybe decades.
It seems to me a very interesting point of view, in short.
One last thing, and
You're
then I
welcome.
start with really a Middle Eastern picture. To call it problematic is an understatement. We just mentioned it. That is the Middle East at this moment. I wouldn't want to represent the Sarajevo of 1914 because the inside is currently in a state of tension. Someone might pull out the Sarajevo gun, and at that point, the chain of events could go objectively out of control.
Who knows if the two world wars have then instead somehow taught this too is from a certain measure, the lesson is also from Ukraine to succeed. Let's say with great difficulty to circumscribe this confetti before they really become global, even though some say that, in fact, we are already in a sort of world war permanent, which was previously only explained by the large East-West trade tensions, which is now also expressed on the field, very extensive battlefields. We have seen Russia, we've seen the tensions indeed. At this point, the situation is already really heavy between Israel and Palestine, Gaza, Iran, with the involvement of Ibano. In short, is there nothing like the Black Swan, anything can happen there. But I wanted to dwell precisely on how much Professor Giuliano Noci stated that is 2024 could be the turning point from this point of view. The whole series of dossier, I want to call here to the report, as they say, Cosimo Pasani, which sometimes is to be a point of reference. Gold. I must say there's